Hi and welcome to Annual General Meeting 2024. My name is Lars Sundell. I'm CEO of Acconeer, and I will do the presentation today together with Michael Egard, co-founder and COO of Acconeer. What we'll cover today is first a brief introduction of Acconeer. If there are people in the audience who have not seen us before, we will do an overview of our market, talk about what we're doing in our product portfolio, and then finally business and strategy and financials. So, explore the next sense. Acconeer does a very unique radar, and we call our technology pulse coherent radar. Traditionally, radars have been tracking big objects, and those radars have been large, power-hungry, and expensive. So when we build products, we try to do it completely different, which means we are doing them as energy efficient, as small, and as low cost as we possibly can. And that's how we compete in the market. We divide the market in 4 different segments. I will talk more about what's in use applications for those segments, but it's consumer electronics, Internet of Things, industry and agriculture, and automotive. And for instance, in automotive, what we're talking about is access control, a kick sensor, or interior detection, child presence detection. In industry agriculture, most of the applications are around measuring levels in different types of tanks and systems. Internet of Things and smart cities, there we cover parking sensor, but also, for instance, touchless buttons in crossings. And in consumer electronics, we have several different applications, but it's typically robotics or, for instance, a keyboard. Our market, well, the graph here in the middle is our assessment of our market, and we think it will be an annual $1 billion market. What you see on the left is a company called QY Research. They made a report which we have bought, and we've had a few meetings with them. They have a more conservative view on our market, and what we think that they've in particular missed in their assessment is what's happening within automotive. But then if you look at the right-hand graph, it's a graph on the automotive radar market, so it covers more than just our frequency band, and it covers many use cases. But what you can see there which is that they are estimating that in-cabin solutions in 2028 will be around $600 million, which we think is a optimistic forecast. So if you go back to the middle graph here, which is ours, what you can see is that we think that the 2 biggest segments over time will be automotive, industry and agriculture, and then Internet of Things and consumer electronics will be a bit smaller. But still, a very sizable market for us to grow into. Our unique selling points. Well, I've already covered our PCR technology means that we are extremely accurate at the same time as we are low power consumption, and that is really the main way we are competing in the market. We can track movements, especially very fast movements. Optimized integration, what we mean with that is that we put the whole system, including the antennas, in a very, very small package. It's 5 by 5 millimeters and 0.8 millimeters high. So extremely small. Material identification, what we mean with that is that our radar can see the difference between different material it bounces on. So that can be used for applications such as grass, no grass in a robot lawnmower, or in a vacuum cleaner. See, if it's a vacuum cleaner on top of a carpet or tile floor or a plastic floor. Robustness is nothing particular with our radar, but a very big differentiator of radar technologies compared to other types of technologies. Radar we have no natural sources of interference, and we don't need an aperture hole to look out through, which means we can radiate through plastic and glass, and that means that our radar works very well in tough environments. So other types of technologies that we are competing with is, if you look on this graph here, you have robustness on the y-axis and accuracy on the x-axis here. We typically compete with ultrasound sensors, but also infrared sensors. They are small, same as us, and they are inexpensive, but they are not at all as robust, and they're not at all as accurate as we are. So tough competition when it comes to price and size, but if you need to be in a tough environment, radar is really the way to go. And then we also compete with passive sensors, and a passive sensor means a sensor that doesn't send anything out. They are, of course, very low power since they're not sending anything out, but they are extremely inaccurate. But it happens that we compete against them. When you come to the radar technologies, we are in the 60 GHz band. And the main reason why we selected the 60 GHz band is that it's a very wide band, and a wide band means that you can make very, very short pulses, and with very short pulses you can be both very accurate but also low power consumption. High frequency, 60 GHz band is a high frequency, and high frequency means that you can build the antenna smaller. So if you want to build really small, being in a high frequency band is very good. So we think that the 60 GHz band gives us all the advantage. We can build small, accurate, and low power. All of the competitors you see on this slide here are FMCW radars. Some of them, or most of them, are basically ADAS or automotive radars have been rebanded to 60 GHz band. They tend to be much bigger and much more power hungry than our radar is. There are a number of companies that want to go in our direction, and typically Infineon, but who are trying to build smaller and more cost efficient, same as us. But since they are not pulsed systems, they will never come close to us with regards to power consumption. So, product portfolio will welcome Michael Egard to the stage.
Thank you, Lars. So I will talk a bit more about our product portfolio and what we do in R&D at Acconeer. But first, I will just give a very short introduction to how a radar measurement actually works and what data we provide to our customers. So in the top left, you see our radar sensor. It emits a very short electromagnetic pulse. It's very accurate. It's reflected towards an object and then received by our sensor again and detected. And what we do is that we keep very accurate control of the time between emission and detection. And that's how we can produce the very accurate data. This data is then processed in different ways to provide a customer with a result in terms of a distance or a movement, presence detected, measurement of speed, material properties, and in the future, in next generation, we'll also provide the angle to the object. And we that do it, we are around 40 employees in R&D with Master of Science or PhD degrees. And we work with all the different competences needed to supply highly advanced radar sensors, from system specification and modeling to semiconductor design, software and algorithm development, and antenna design. Everything that is needed to develop these products and support customers. We also have all the IT infrastructure and lab facilities needed to do this type of development. We have working with 3 different product generations on the sensor side. The first one, the A11, has been in the market now for some time. Last year we launched the A121, which builds on the A1, but improves all the unique selling points that Lars mentioned before. So for the A121, we have improved the power consumption and increased the range. We have also simplified integrations, which means that it's less cost for a customer to build a product. We have enhanced the data quality to make it possible for customers to make more advanced applications. And we have increased the temperature range to make it applicable for more use cases in the automotive market. And then the next generation, the A2, we will get a first glance at now. We have the prototypes in our facilities. They are working very well, so well enough that we have managed to do this very first demo. So here Elina walks around in the room, which we have divided into different segments with these different squares that you see here. And the sensor is standing on the desk here in front of us is the A2, and it tracks her movement as she moves through the room. And the A2 can do that as it has several antennas. So the A1 has one transmitter and one receiver antenna. The A2 has several antennas and can hence track an object in the angular dimension as well. We have also included application processing in the sensor, which means that the customer can save even more cost in their system as they can use our processor instead of sourcing an external processor. And then the range is increased, and we have started sending EVKs to selected customers, and we'll continue to do that during the year. But publicly, we'll release the evaluation kit next year, and then we'll ramp to production in 2026. So that is for the next generation. For the current generation, the A121, it is in the market, and in addition to the sensor, we're also building modules. And the reason we build modules is to help customers that are have very short time to market or just not want to invest in doing the development of their own module. And here we then increase the value and provide something that is the sensor together with the application processor and the needed components around it. And with our software, the customer can then very easily get to market. For all our products, sensors and modules, we have evaluation kits, which is a hardware that the customer easily can plug into their PC and get up and running, investigating our technology. In addition to the evaluation kit, they need the software with their software development kit, reference applications and algorithms. They get that from our website. And then they go to GitHub and download our open source exploration tool, which they use to visualize the data and start developing their application. And we have many different resources that they can use, reference documentation and layouts and mechanical files and such, and together with our radar handbook to help as many customers as possible launch by themselves. And this is really how we can have so many customers, that we have these resources available online. As I said, A121 is replacing A1, so this is something we're working on promoting to our customers, why they should select the A121 going forward. And just as 2 examples, it's twice the range for distance measurement and half the power consumption for presence detection. And together with offer here, we supply what we call reference applications. So it is software for this specific application. We have 5 examples here, tank level, smart presence, and etc. They also get a product brief for this application and a test report on what the sensor can actually do in this specific use case. And this together with a module is more or less a ready-made product, which the customer can put their label on. In parallel to this, we also continue to develop advanced applications and do research in future applications. So some examples here is, and Lars will talk more about the specific use cases later, but measuring flow velocity of solids and liquids, classification of human behavior. It can be vital signs. It can be, as one example, detecting if a diaper is moist or not in a hospital environment. It can be measuring extremely small vibration, micrometer-sized vibration with very high frequency for predictive maintenance. And then, thanks to the A2, we have also started to add research into advanced imaging radar algorithms. So what you see here is what we call a heat map. So it's a new type of data stream that you can get with the A2, where you can more or less get, we could say, a visual picture of the radar environment. So this is the radar picture of a person sitting in front of a laptop, which we then can use to develop advanced algorithms and use cases. And with that, I will hand back to Lars to discuss business and strategy.
Thank you, Michael. So I'm going to talk a little bit about business and strategy. First of all, some slides on applications. So the first slide here are applications where we have already launched customers. So it can either be on A111 or A121, but products are out in the market. I cannot go through all of these ones because it would take too much time, but I will make a summary of them. So if you talk about internet and smart cities, it's very much about measuring a distance or something. And that could be towards a bridge to see if it's in place or not, but it's very much measuring levels in different types of containers. So it can be liquids, but it can be waste, but it can also be sewage systems. So that's a very big area for us. Another set of applications is really parking sensors, and it's about telling if a car is parked or not. That there we have a very, very big part of the whole world market. And then you also have traffic systems. So for instance, touchless buttons at traffic lights. And then some applications indoors, which is, switching on and off lamps, but also, for instance, urinals. In that environment, we have a tough competition from ultrasound and IR systems, but we are starting to win some business in that area. Consumer electronics is very much about robots, but we also have some different other applications, such as being in cameras or dashbacks on bikes, or smart showers, and we have integrated also in a keyboard. Automotive, as I said, is an area where we have very high expectation, and there we're talking about access controls, so basically a kick sensor, you open and close the trunk. I will come back more to that, but also interior detection, and that is in specifically child presence detection. In industry agriculture, it's fairly similar to Internet of Things and smart cities. It's in different industrial applications, measuring a distance or something, but also maybe counting, for instance, cows, but also checking in containers, are they empty or full. So that was the launch ones. Having said that, we have still a lot of application which we are in the process of developing, and we are in the process of helping customer launch on A121. So a few applications here in automotive, so fluids, or door trunk obstacle detection, which means the door when it opens should not hit a wall or a ceiling. And air suspension, how heavily loaded is a vehicle. So those are different types of use cases we're working on, but we're still not in the market. In industry agriculture, the main ones we see is really automation and different types of farming equipment, and there we are very close to launches. Two other areas which we think are super interesting and we are working with customers is really hydraulic control, how extended is an hydraulic, but also vibration measurement, as Michael mentioned. We can see extremely small movements in vibrations. Consumer electronics, we worked for a long time on gesture control of the headsets, but we're also talking smart toilets, fall detection, and for instance, another use case mentioned by Michael, which is basically wetness of diapers. In Internet of Things and smart cities, we are mainly talking about improvement of existing use cases, but for instance, faucet control is a feature where we see customers interested, and the main reason for being interested is that you can control the water very well, and with that save water. You can also use our sensor to detect the surface velocity in sewage systems. And then, of course, the big lift will come to when we come to the A2 and use cases we see for the A2. And we are developing the A2 together with Alps Alpine, and so the focus of A2 have very much been on automotive. So what has set our requirements on the product are really 6 use cases. And the first one is basically passenger detection, which we already do today, but with classification. We can tell the size of an object. Posture, how does a person sit in the car? We think we can improve on the obstacle, trunk obstacle detection with the A2, with more antennas. But we think also we can go after parking assistance in the car and perimeter surveillance. And finally, we've made some proof of concept on gesture control in the car, but we think that with the A2 that will be easier. Industrial agriculture, what we're talking about is basically same use cases as with the A11, but again, we can do them better when we have the additional capabilities that we have in an A2. If you go into consumer electronics, we think what is really interesting is, for instance, TV, shut off and shut down the screen based on if people are there or not. That's an area which we have worked on, but the capabilities of the A121 are not good enough in order to win those stills, but we think we can with the A2. And then if you go to Internet of Things and smart cities, it's very much about people in rooms. Where are people? Like the demo that Michael showed, and with that you can direct resources in rooms such as air conditioners or light to where people are, rather than spending the resources all over the room. So many exciting new use cases enabled by multi-antennas and a low power consumption. Example of customers, Hancom is a Korean a customer who does parking sensors. They have a service which is like an Airbnb. When you are not on your parking spot, someone else can use it, and you get an income from your parking spot. General Motors, the first few cars out on the streets with access control are from General Motors. Volvo and Polestar will also be in public, and here we have many sensors per car. So in a Polestar 3 there's 7 sensors, but it's both access control but also interior detection. Metasphere is a UK customer who has bought a lot of sensors for sewage systems. They are building a system where you have very many measuring points in the sewage systems, and for that you need something that is robust but also low cost and low power, because they have to be battery driven. Level measurements in different types of tanks and in agriculture, so level con, and then an example of a robot is GrooveX in Japan, who does a cute little robot which is like a pet replacement. A little bit on how we work. Well, if you look at this slide, there are basically 3 different phases. First of all, there is an evaluation period. Then we get what we call a design win. Then there is a design period. And then, of course, there's a period where the customer launch their product. So the customer finds us somewhere. It can be on the internet or from our distributors and partners. They purchase a hardware, download the software, and then basically they're ready to evaluate. This should not take more than 30 minutes, from having hardware until you can play around with the radar. Once they've decided that they're going to work with our radar, they have to do system design, hardware and physical integration, and then software design, and then launch it. For the most interesting use cases and the most interesting customers, we do run customer projects. So most customers are basically best effort support, but then we take care of some customers much more diligently, and that can typically be either a very interesting and important use case. When a customer does something for the first time, it's very important for us that the reference in the market on our radar is good, or it can be the biggest customer opportunities. So to qualify as a customer project, it's either very interesting use case or high volume opportunity. Different Different sectors of the markets take different times to market. Automotive takes a long time, 3 to 6 years. The cars we are launching now, we work 5, 6 years on. Same, I would say, with industry agriculture. They can either be very, very slow, but there are also examples in that sector of customers being fairly fast. And then Internet of Things and consumer electronics, they tend to be faster to market. So typically 1 to 2 years from purchasing the hardware until they have a product in the market. In our strategy, we work with as many channels as we can and try to work with as many channels to the market where basically the relationship is success-based. So they make money when they sell our sensor. We do quite a bit of direct sales, particularly to the largest customers. But we also have a number of customers now who are module providers. They build a general purpose module, which they use in several segments of the market. System integrators, these are our customers who build systems that they in turn sell to someone else that builds a product, like a car, for example. And distributors. So we have a worldwide covering distributor network. We have the possibility to also use other semiconductor companies as a channel when we have such discussions, but nothing has materialized yet. All of the figures I show here are basically 2023 figures. We have not released the quarterly report yet, but here you can see a map on our distributor network. DDK Mouser, which are the 2 biggest online distributors, are customers to us. And then we have local distributors in basically all the important geographies. This is something we are gradually expanding. We want to have more channels into the market and cover areas which we're not covering yet. In terms of geography, Europe is our biggest market, followed by China, but then US. US has lagged a little bit due to regulatory issues, but last 2 quarters, this has been fixed, and last 2 quarters, actually US market had most customer launches. If you look at number of products launched, Internet of Things and Smart Cities by far the biggest area, followed by industry and agriculture. But already in 2023, from a revenue point of view, industry and agriculture was our biggest area. Another analysis that we do internally is that for each customer product that comes to the market, we take a look at it and we look at our experience, but we also talk to our partners, what type of forecasts they have. So we classify them in different size categories. So here you see 3 categories, smaller customers or customer products, mid, and then the ones that we think can sell in volumes. What you can also see here is that the distribution of our customers, it's very many smaller customers. So one of the objectives we naturally have is that we want to launch more and more large customers or customer projects. And we have many of those in pipeline. They take a little bit longer, but typically a large customer would be a product out of General Motors or Zucchetti. One of the figures we quote very much is how many evaluation kits we sell. So last year, 2023, we sold 1,400 evaluation kits. That's 4 units a day on average, which means that we have a very, very large pipeline of customers evaluating our product. And we had 38 customers coming to market with our product. So the whole thing here, we need to get more customers out. We are aiming for more than 10 every quarter. And we need to change the distribution of customers towards the larger accounts. One of the areas which we've done very well in during the last year is automotive. So we sell our sensors to Next Electronics, which distribute them to a factory of Alps Alpine, who is our big partner. In total, we have 19 design wins with And out of those 19, 15 is in the access control, and now 4 are in interior detection. What I also can say is that out of these 15, we are working now with 3 of the 5 largest car brands in the world. So the very good pipeline of cars on the way. Out of these 19 design wins, 4 are cars that are already on the market, and that's typically with General Motors, which have been first out. So, financial development. 2023 was not a good year from a revenue point of view, which you can see here on the slide. But it's very easily explained why it was like that, and that had a connection to COVID. So most of the our partners and customers built up a lot of inventory in 2022, and that meant that when the COVID was over in 2023, they purchased less. We see this only as a blip, and it has a very natural explanation. Our gross margins are still good. We actually have 2 types of gross margin. One is just on the product, and that's the one which we think is more relevant and the one we are talking about in quarter report. But if you have a gross margin on our, including the services that we provide, it's a different figure. But typically we are at 60% gross margin, which we think is on the high end where comparable companies to us are. And then when it comes to earnings before interest and taxes, it's been declining. Or our loss has been declining the last few years. Not so much last year as we would have hoped to, but that hangs together very much with the fact that we didn't achieve as much revenue as we had hoped. So a look back at 2023. So even though revenue came in lower than what we had expected, we actually think that from an operational point of view, 2023 was a very good year for us. We completed a number of tasks that we've been working on for many years, and you know, they came to fruition in 2023. So first of all, we launched A121, and the feedback from the market on the A121 is very good. We also got new US regulation, and our sales had for a couple of years been hampered by the limitations that existed on the US market, but now we actually have new regulation in the US, which we think is very good for us. We had significant movements in design wins in automotive sector, so we went from 4 to 19. But now we also have design wins from 3 of the 5 largest automotive manufacturers in the world. And finally, we just before Christmas got the A2 samples into our office, and very quickly our engineers could actually get them to work, and we concluded that they are good enough to send it out to customers for evaluation. So all of these things are the foundation for the progress we will do in the next few years. Another thing we did in Q1 this year was that we defined financial objectives which we communicated to the market. And those are, you know, first EBIT positive quarter in 2025. We aim for 300 million SEK of revenue in 2027. Long-term EBIT market in line with the market, so 25%. And our first cash flow positive quarter in 2026. So to achieve these objectives, we had a rights issue of 150 million Swedish kronor. All our largest shareholders participated in the rights issue. Also, I did, and our chairman, Thomas Rex. We got a subscription rate of 96.5%, so only 3.5% of the shares ended up with guarantors, which I think in today's market is a good outcome. And Of course, helping us running this process was Carnegie. What we will do with this money is, first of all, conclude on the development of the A2, which is very important for us. We will also pay back the short-term loans that we have taken, and we will use some of this money in order to build out our commercial organization. Now we do have, of course, a business plan that supports these communicated financial objectives, and we are going to work very hard to make them come through. So thank you very much for watching this presentation, and I look forward to meeting you in the future.